I'd now like to introduce our student speaker, Amia Davis. Amia is receiving her Master of Arts in Mass Communication degree today, after graduating as a telecommunications major last year, which makes her a brand new double gator. As an aspiring filmmaker, writer, model, and actress, Amia is working to fulfill her purpose as an artist, supporting underrepresented communities and individuals in creative storytelling. She has worked on productions such as Blackview, a TV series following the lives of young Black women, and Anything's Possible, actor Billy Porter's directorial debut with Amazon Prime. Amia has worked as a production assistant with Netflix, and with her graduate thesis film, Dichotomy, she attempts to redefine the image of the Black community. Supporting and curating space for BIPOC-led crews, Amia lends an ear, lifts and inspires the voices of minorities who are often silenced. Today, we give Amia the stage so that she can tell her story. Amia?
Hello, everybody. I'm not supposed to be here. I was supposed to graduate last semester. I had all my classes finished except for my capstone. My fellow graduate students know that is currency for your degree. For my project, I picked something meaningful to me, a short film with a purpose, Dichotomy, a psychological thriller revealing the effects of police brutality on the Black psyche. I was set on redefining the image of the Black community and curating a film crew that deviated from the white male industry standard. I spent many sleepless nights trying to synthesize science fiction with social justice and recruiting a team that both diversified the set environment and supported a larger cause. I was so lucky to have a talented group of Black, Asian, Latinx, and other ethnic communities, as well as a majority female leadership. I had a dream team, but I still needed to move mountains in order to transform industry demographics one screen at a time. I locked myself away with my work. I had a big dream, a hard deadline, and the Hollywood stardom was calling my name. Gainesville is great, but spending 5 years in the swamp is not what you think it is. When I first arrived at college, I thought the swamp was a cute little nickname. I did not know that I would be walking in the wet heat next to live alligators. Seriously, I know you guys have seen the videos. It was time for me to go, but I was ready to enter a new phase. Life had other plans. So much has happened in a year that has led me to deliver this message to you. A message about life, death, balance, and time. A phenomenon we all know is unpredictable. A lot of you probably don't know me. My name is Amia Davis. I'm a filmmaker, storyteller, and now a double gator. Today is our day to celebrate, but also a time to thank the people who brought us here. So let's acknowledge the people who helped us along the way and celebrate them too. Our parents, our professors, our advisors, our family, our friends, each of the people who believed in us. I want to thank my mom for pushing me to relish in my accomplishments and not walk but strut on this stage. And Iman Zawari for believing I deserve such a huge platform. I'm eternally grateful to be willing and able to take the stage a second time despite all I've dealt with throughout my last years. I would be lying if I said I didn't want to give up, to drop out. My mother can attest to this. There were times where I spent countless hours in the Weimer dungeon, also known as the editing lab. Y'all know about it. The lab is on the ground floor, so of course I didn't get service, but it gave me a space to focus. Dawn turned to dusk, and dusk turned to midnight. Then, like an alarm, I'd hear Find My iPhone going off. Once I returned to the landing of living and better reception, I'd see 5 missed calls from Mom. And my fellow students, we all know what that means. Now, my mom calls me all the time, especially when she doesn't know where I am, when she needs some media advice, and when she misses me. But most of the time, just to bother me, as all mothers do. All I can do is laugh. Well, One day my mom called me and my heart stopped. It was the day she told me that my dad had stage 3 cancer. My dad and I had a peculiar relationship. We would talk on and off, and I would pretend it didn't bother me. It did. And in that moment, I felt the worst feeling I felt in my life: regret. My father, having been a student himself, begged my mother not to tell me about his diagnosis because he knew how much the time would cost. I had a plan with a hard timeline, and at the time I believed I had to follow that to be successful. I was so focused on my future that I couldn't see what was going on in the present. After hanging up with my mother, I didn't know what to do. I had one project left to finish, and my dad could see me graduate, but my responsibilities were breathing down my neck. I could just feel the time dwindling. All I wanted to do was see my father. I had a professor urging me to step into my potential, advisors stressing deadlines, and I was just trying to wrap my head around the fact that I might never see my father again. I needed to take time to absorb what I was feeling and facing. I went to my safe space on campus, the architecture building. Here, I could cry in private with no one to recognize my voice. I went to the nearest bathroom, and as I got into the stall, finally feeling safe enough to release, I hear a girl sobbing outside. Her friends are consoling her, and she shares her problem. Through her tears, she says that she has an exam the day of her brother's engagement. She can't go because the exam can't be moved, and they refuse to let her make it up. This girl had to choose between a life milestone and a future that isn't promised to her. It hit me. Students face a huge dilemma with grind culture in the educational system of today. We treat ourselves like machines when we're only human, and we sometimes feel forced to make hard life decisions when we're constantly encouraged to prioritize education without any guidance on how to fit work into life. I was so focused on fitting life into work that I couldn't focus on what was going on in front of me. I was living in a constant state of anxiety, trying to wait on the next phone call, telling me it was too late. I realized I couldn't live with the idea of missing my father's last moments. When that call came, I expected the worst. I just knew my mother was going to tell me he was gone, but he wasn't. There was still time, a second chance. When I got to the hospital, my father could only utter words. He couldn't formulate a full sentence. That feeling of regret hit me hard. But in that moment, I forgot about my capstone, I forgot about graduation, and just relished in what moments I had left. I mentioned I didn't talk much to my father. Well, I definitely made up for it during his time in hospice. When I wasn't trying to keep him from breaking out of the hospital bed, I was updating him on life. We had our first sleepover the day he died. The whole night I spoke about relationships, played music, and showed him my life's work. I stayed up all night so I wouldn't miss a minute. I think this was the first time I wished I wasn't the first one up at the sleepover, or the last one up at the sleepover. However, when my dad finally slipped into his eternal slumber, all I felt was peace and relief. His suffering had ended, and all guilt from missing so much of each other's lives had seemed to dissolve. We all heard the words, "You're a student first." Your education is the most important. I'm here to tell you you're a human first. Before you're a student, professor, president, dean, before all the titles, you are a person. Your education or your job is just your means to life. Graduation is not the end of my story, and it's not the end of yours. It's simply a new beginning. So before I close, I want to leave you with a quote that stuck with me throughout my childhood. If you're a DreamWorks fan, you might recognize it. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why they called it the present. These inspiring words from the movie Kung Fu Panda is our reminder to take time to appreciate life's journey, so we do not miss it worrying about what could have been or what will be. As you move on to this next phase, I ask all of you, the future leaders, directors, organizers, and CEOs, to make room for life. Now, I don't mean get wild. Our college days are over. What I mean is live each day like it's your last. Take that chance, make that move, and say those words. Celebrate each day alive, because you've earned it. Congratulations, graduates. Now go out and thrive.